Torah guardian, speaking the absolute truth. Torah nation. Hallelujah. 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 You gotta walk it out. You gotta walk it out. Walk it out. You gotta work it out. You gotta walk it out. My boy Lorvis. I love this Aki. The firmament. Walk it out. Y'all know I don't want to write this music. Listen. We got to walk it out. We have to use the Ruach HaKodesh, move in our emunah. You gotta walk it out. No. You gotta walk it out. Listen. Yahuah needs people who will go forth in the basura of truth and bring him glory, delivering the basura of truth by the Ruach HaKodesh. He's looking for people to walk it out. Yahuah, I give you praise right now in the name of Mashiach. I pray that the words that you give me, I give them. I ask you to take the reins of my lips, reins of my mouth. Yahuah, I ask you by your Ruach HaKodesh to use me, to speak through me. Yahuah, keep me from injuring anyone. Yahuah, causing any to go astray. Yahuah, I yield myself to your Ruach HaKodesh right now. Gotta walk it out. Don't wanna hear what you say. You gotta walk it out. Yahuah, I thank you in the name of Yahushua Mashiach for your basura of truth. Yahuah, let your word come forth. Ruachly, power and truth. I thank you, Yahuah, in the name of Yahushua Mashiach. You have to be imitators of Yahushua HaMashiach. You have to walk it out. Yahuah, I'ma walk it out. I'm gonna walk it out. I'ma walk it out. I'ma walk it out. I'ma be an imitator of the truth. And I'm gonna walk it out. Listen, Lorvins, the firmament, walk it out. Listen. The Ak is the truth. Again, you know I don't own the rights to this music. But I praise Yahuah for the Ruach HaKodesh. And I thank Yahuah that I can walk this thing out. I can walk it out. I can walk it out. I can walk it out. I can be an imitator of Yahushua HaMashiach. Right? I can be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. I can be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. Listen, I can rely on the Ruach HaKodesh. I can release my emunah in the Ruach HaKodesh. Listen, I'm releasing my emunah in the Ruach HaKodesh at this moment as I deliver this Besorah to you. Oh yeah, I'm believing that the Ruach HaKodesh is going to take and has taken full control right now. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I'm walking this out. Being an imitator of Yahushua HaMashiach, yes. Look, we going in. We going straight in. Listen, we were talking about Ephesians, the 5th chapter, right? And that whole 5th chapter dealt with being imitators of Mashiach and not imitating what is done in the world or what we have done or what we used to do, right? How we used to act, how we used to conduct ourselves, right? We are called to be living epistles, written and read of men. We are called to deliver the Besorah of truth, right? We are called to be messengers, ambassadors of Yahushua HaMashiach. And that requires us walking it out, like my brother Lorvin says. You got to walk it out. You got to walk it out. You got to be imitators of Yahuah, right? And not imitators as the world does things. We don't imitate the world. We've taken on a new vocation, right? We were dead, but now we've taken on a new vocation. Our vocation in Hamashiach has gifted us with the Ruach HaKodesh gifts and tools to be used for the advancement of the kingdom of Elohiym and Yahushua. It's about walking it out. It's about us reunifying, bringing unity back to the house of Yasharal, back to the people of Yasharal, back to Yahuah, and not just Yisrael, but to all those who would answer the call, all those who would receive Yahushua HaMashiach as Elohiym, as Adonai, as Yahushua HaMashiach, right? As the kinsman redeemer, as the redeemer of those who are redeemed other than or outside of or not having received the law. It's about imitating, right? You know how our kids, when they were young, used to imitate us, right? They did what we did, to the good or to the bad. They did what we did. We are to imitate Yahushua. We are to imitate Yahushua. And it is only possible through the Ruach HaKodesh. The tools necessary to be an effective imitator is in the Ruach HaKodesh. To be an imitator, you have to have the fruits of the Ruach HaKodesh, goodness and love and righteousness. They have to be a part of you, right? The Ruach HaKodesh, in order to be an imitator of Yahushua. And in the awakening, we know that some people don't even accept the ministry of Yahushua as the son of Elohiym. They don't even recognize him as the son of Yahuah, right? They don't recognize him as the son of Yahuah. Therefore, they can never be imitators until they come to the conclusion that Yahuah planted a seed in Mary, right, by the Ruach HaKodesh, and she brought forth Yahushua HaMashiach. If you can't make that leap of faith, you can't receive that witness, that testimony, then you'll never be a candidate for the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay, in order to get to the Father, you have to come through the Son, his son, not Joseph's son, right? not his brothers, right? His brothers that didn't believe on him. You gotta receive the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach. He has to be the reason for you imitating Yahuah. He has to be the reason for you imitating Yahushua. He has to be the reason, because without this, there is no Ruach HaKodesh for you. You have to receive the witness. You have to identify and recognize that Yahushua is the way, the Torah, the Basora, the truth, the Torah, the Basora, and the life, the Torah and the Basora. Right? So we went into Ephesians, the 5th chapter, right? And we left off at around the 12th verse. And to kind of basically address the previous verses, it talks about being imitators of Yahuah, right? And we are to imitate him in love. Well, we know that our demonstration of love to the Father and to the Son is by obeying the commandments. So as we obey the commandments, we walk in his love, right? See, and again, you can't suggest at any time that Paul is not teaching them to obey the Torah. He just never says, thou shalt not, right? Not in the original form as it was recorded in Moshe on tablets and stones, right? But what he is telling them is that the Basora of Yahushua, right? And in order to walk in his love, you have to keep his commandments, right? Yahushua himself said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. So he says, walk in the commandments. It's love of Mashiach. He has loved you because he's walked in the Father's commandments. He's given himself for you because he gave himself because the Father requested, in order to redeem us, his kinsmen, to purchase our Yeshua. And in return, we keep his commandments and we sacrifice ourselves for the service of Yahuah, right? Now, he goes on to say, don't let fornication, uncleanness, covetousness, any filthiness, foolish talking, jesting, that which is inconvenient, right? Those are the things that really are not even amongst us. And if they are, they shouldn't be. Because if we receive the Ruach HaKodesh, this stuff is not in us. He says, for you know that no whoremonger or unclean person or covetousness or idolater, right? So we go to, we deal with the whole idea of illicit sexual sin, right? From verse 3 to verse 5, we deal with illicit sexual sins, right? And at the end, it attaches idolatry, which ties the whole idea of why this sexual perversion was a part of them, right? Because we know that they worshipped and served in Ephesus the goddess of EPH'SIYM, right? And they had temples, right? And in these temples, there were male prostitutes and women prostitutes that, were there in service and worship to their El, this female the Ephesians, right? And this worship was idolatry, but it involved whoremongers, which were male prostitutes. And the male prostitutes would grow their hair long, right? And the women prostitutes, they would shave their heads. It would be like this transgender, trans-mixing thing, right? And the men would parade as women in this temple. And the women would parade men in this temple. And, you know, they would have sexual intercourse. And they would do it under the influence of this alcoholic sussedness, right? To the point that it became orgy. I don't know if it's a word, orgialistic. It became an orgy kind of thing. And it was their worship. They worship leaning on these poles. And Paul said, listen, this stuff should not be named amongst you. This is not the imitation of Mashiach. Now, I know that you were accustomed to conducting yourselves in this manner, but you have put on Mashiach, right? You have received the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Now, this cannot be named amongst you as saints. But this is not what we do, right? And you have to understand that if you participate in this kind of perverted a religious service, if you fellowship with this, right? And you align yourself with this and align yourself with people who are trying to convince you that this is okay, right? And then you really don't have a part in the kingdom of Mashiach and of Elohiym. You don't have a part. It's not for you. It's not you, right? He says, in the 6th chapter, don't be deceived by people who try to tell you that it's okay. It's okay. It's not a problem. It's okay. You can do this, right? Don't be deceived. These are vain words, he says. And listen, because of this behavior, this sin, right? This sin, right? The wrath of God, the wrath of Yahuah, or the wrath of Elohiym is coming upon the children of disobedience, among whom you once had, right, your manner of conversation. Let's go to Ephesians 2 real quick. Ephesians 2 says, and you have he made alive. You were dead. Who were dead in trespasses and sin, he made you alive. You were dead. And your trespasses and sins were in times past, you walked according to the course of this world. Right? You used to participate in that religious pagan worship of the goddess of Ephesus, whatever her name is. You used to participate in that, right? The goddess of Ephesians. You used to participate in that worship. But you were in times past, right? Walking according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air. The prince of the power of the air was the spirit that governed what you did. And it is the prince of the power of the air that now worketh in the children of disobedience, and among whom also, verse 3, we all had our conversation in times past, in the lust of our flesh, fulfilling the desires of the flesh and of the mind, and were by nature children of wrath, even as others. We were by nature the children of wrath, right? But Yahuah, who was enriched in mercy and his great love, wherein he loved us, even when we were dead in sin, he gave us life by the Ruach HaKodesh. Quickened us, made us alive, right? Together with Mashiach, right? He made us alive. He gave us his Ruach HaKodesh. He put his spirit, the spirit of him and his Father, in us. The Ruach HaKodesh. Right? Even when you were dead in trespasses, even when you were dead in sin, he quickened us together, made us alive together with Mashiach. That's why we don't practice. We don't engage in. We don't fellowship with people who do such things. Right? He says, be ye not therefore partakers. Don't fellowship with that. What fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? What communion has Christ with Belial? Why would we join ourselves to such filthiness? Right? He said, be ye not therefore partakers of them, for you were sometimes in darkness, but now you are light in Adonai. You are now light in Adonai. Yeah, you were, you used to. Yeah, you was a male prostitute before. Yeah, you was a stripper before. You engaged in illicit sexual activity before. When you did all of that. But now you are light in Yahuah. Through faith in his son Yahushua Mashiach. You've received the Ruach HaKodesh. I can't join the Ruach HaKodesh with harlots. The temple of Yahuah with idols. You're the light. He said, now you're light in Yahuah. Walk as children of the light, right? Because that's who you are. That's what you are. He said the fruit of the Ruach HaKodesh is goodness, righteousness, and truth, right? And it proves that which is acceptable unto Adonai, right? The fruit of the Spirit in you proves, right? It proves what is acceptable. It reveals what is acceptable. The Ruach HaKodesh, listen, that's why it's hard for you to even know what is right apart from the Ruach HaKodesh, because it proves that which is acceptable. It proves what is acceptable. With the Ruach HaKodesh on the inside of you, you can be in a situation and know, nah, this is not of you. This is not of Elohiym. This is not of Yahushua HaMashiach, because it demonstrates the Ruach HaKodesh in you that this is not acceptable, right? And if it determines in you that it's not acceptable and you push past it, you are grieving the Ruach HaKodesh. He says in verse 11, he says in 11, and have no fellowship, no communion, right, with the unfruitful works of darkness, because you're light. What benefit have you in taking the light of Yahuah and the Ruach HaKodesh and putting it in the place of harlotry and idolatry and fornication and illicit sexual intercourse? I mean, why would you do that with your temple, with the Ruach HaKodesh that is now in you? He said, listen, we ain't supposed to have any fellowship with them, right? But rather reprove them. We should convict them because of our righteousness. Now, that doesn't mean we put ourselves in there where they are and say, well, I'm here to convict you. No, 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 no. Your failure to go in is the evidence of your conviction and their conviction. Yeah. Well, you know, I just want to go and hang out with my boys and show them the love of Yahuah. I know they're going to be smoking and drinking. I know they're going to be wilding out, but, you know, I just got to go and be in the midst of them in order to win them. Wrong answer. He said, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. What reproves them? By your failure to participate is reproving. For it is a shame to even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret, right? You know what you and your boys used to do in secret. You know what you used to do? Come on. Reprove them by not even being in the midst, apart. Listen, does it mean if you're walking in Walmart and you see them coming your way that you run to another aisle? No. No, 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 no. Right? You reprove them. Now, you may find that they may go to a different aisle. Because if you're a light and the Ruach HaKodesh is in you, then you're going to reprove them of their sin. If they don't want to be awake, he says, for it is a shame to even speak of those things which are done of them in secret. But all things are reproved, but all things that are reproved are made manifested by the light. So the righteousness, the truth, the goodness that is in you by the Ruach HaKodesh, right? It reproves them, right? It manifests their wickedness and their darkness, right? It convicts them, the light, right? For whatsoever doeth manifest is light. So, the conviction of your goodness and your righteousness and your truth, the Ruach HaKodesh in you, right? Yahuah, Elohiym, Yahusha in you, right? Will manifest their sin and hopefully convict them of unrighteousness and a need to repent and turn, awaken. All right, let's go. Verse 13. Wherefore he says, awake thou that sleepeth, and arise from the dead. He's talking about those who you, by your goodness, your righteousness, and your truth, right, by reproving them of their sin, is a call to them to wake up out of the darkness of their death and rise unto the light of Yahushua HaMashiach, who gives life. Woo! Yahushua HaMashiach is the light giver. He says, I'm going to go away and you're going to receive a comforter. And that comforter is going to lead you and guide you. It's going to be a light in this dark world. It's going to lead you in this darkness. Listen. Let's go on. He says, for see then that ye walk circumspectly. Walk upright. See that you walk circumspectly. Exactly, accurately, diligently. Right? The Greek word for that is
Strong's G 199. Akribos.
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 So the Greek word is akribos. It means exactly, accurately, diligently, right? So walk accurately, according to the truth of the Besorah that has been given you, right? Be diligent about what you do for Mashiach, right? Be diligent about your study. Be diligent about your service. Be diligent about that which you have been called to do. Don't do it like fools. Fools act like they got forever. They waste time. They waste time. But you got to be diligent. You got to be accurate, right? You got to be redeeming the time. Verse 16. Making full proof of what the Ruach has put in you. Not wasting any moment, any second, any time. Delivering the Besorah of truth in season and out of season. You reprove, you rebuke, you do everything that the Besorah is meant to do. Redeeming the time. Listen. I have to do this. I got to make full proof of this ministry. I have to do this because I have to redeem the time. I have to spend this time making sure that I do everything I can. And even now, sometimes I think there's still more that I could do. But the Ruach HaKodesh will lead me and guide me, right? But redeeming the time because the days are evil. And he says, speaking to yourselves in songs and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to Adonai. Yahuah, Yahuah. I praise you, Yahuah. Yahuah, Yahuah. Your name is great and greatly to be praised, Yahuah, Yahuah. There is none like you, Yahuah, Yahuah. I praise you. Biaraka shorukutu, biandora, yaraboku yekishita, yarabohu, gietchatara, sarukutu, shiera magondia, yadarabosh yekishira, yaradondu. Songs. Making songs. Making melodies, right? In your heart to Yahuah. Making melody in your hearts to Yahuah, right? Redeeming the time. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of Yahuah is. The will of Yahuah is the word of Yahuah. The will of Yahuah is the word of Yahuah. The will of Yahusha is the word of Yahusha. Understand what Yahuwah's word is. Understand what Yahuwah's word is. Yahuwah's word, Yahusha's word is their will, their words. Shall be not drunk with wine, whereas access to be what? Filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. Now speaking to yourselves in songs. I skipped 2 verses. Singing and making melody in your heart because of the Ruach HaKodesh. This is how we imitate Yahuah. This is how we do that which pleases him. This is how we become the example of Yahushua HaMashiach. This is how we are his example in the earth. This is how we represent him. This is how we imitate him, by the Ruach HaKodesh. Not being drunk with wine, not in this temple worship, not in this excess, this sexual immorality, this pornonia. Being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. Verse 20, giving thanks always for all things unto Elohiym and the Father, in the name of Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach. Yahuah, I give you praise for all things, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. I give you praise, Yahuah, for all things, in the name of Yahuah, in the name of Adonai Yahushua HaMashiach. Submitting yourselves one to another, the unity. Listen, without the Ruach, there is no submission. Without the Ruach, there is no unity. Without the Ruach, there is no submission. Without the Ruach, there is no unity. Without the Ruach, there is no inheritance. Without the Ruach, there is no spiritual blessings. Without the Ruach, there is no life. Without the Ruach, there is no light. Without the Ruach. Submitting ourselves one to another in the fear of Adonai, Elohiym. Now we're going to stop there, because the 22 to the 33rd, we're going to deal with that later. But I want to move over to 1 Corinthians real quick. Paul addresses his reliance on the Ruach HaKodesh, right? So it's not just enough to know that you need it and to have it, but you got to rely on it. You got to trust it to give you what you need, right? Listen, 1 Corinthians, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse, Paul says, I, brethren, when I came to you, came not with excellency of speech. So Paul is saying, listen, I didn't come to you as an orator, right? Like, there was some dispute in reference to them saying someone's of Paul and Apollos. Apollos was an eloquent speaker. You know, he was one of those people that would speak and kind of hold you right in his with his words and what he had said. He was that kind of deliverer, right? So he was still Yahuah's servant, but Paul said I wasn't like that. Right, I didn't come with a excellency of speech, right? There was some that would even suggest that Paul had a speech impediment, right? So whether that be true or not, Paul himself references his limitations, right? His limitations as he perceives himself as a man, right? Right, of Elohiym, right? Which means that Paul is putting the emphasis on the Ruach HaKodesh being his source. It is what he relies on, much of the same way I feel, you know what I mean? What I do because of the Ruach HaKodesh. What I say because the Ruach HaKodesh gives it to me. You know, I don't have any PhDs, or, you know, I don't understand and know all the Hebrewisms or the words. You know, I pick up and I look at and I try to study and I try to, you know, but I don't always say the right Hebrew word, right? I don't come with excellency of speech. Yeah, I can talk. Yeah, I could probably carry a intellectual conversation with an intellect. But even if I do, I'm relying on the Ruach HaKodesh and not my own understanding. See, I'm not going to just open my mouth and begin to talk about stuff I don't know unless the Ruach HaKodesh gives me a revelation of it. I just don't do that. Just don't jump into people's conversation and begin to offer up information unless the Ruach HaKodesh gives me something to say. I just don't do that, right? Paul said, I, brethren, when I came to you, I did not come with excellency of speech, of wisdom, declaring unto you the testimony of Yahuah, right? Now, Paul's not talking about the Ruach of wisdom. Paul's talking about a natural excellency or a command of English or natural wisdom, right? Declaring the testimonies of Yahuah. He said, I didn't come to you like that. Right? I didn't come to you like that. Listen, Paul didn't even much rely on, how can I say this? Paul was educated, a Pharisee. He studied under Gamaliel, right? He learned from the religious leaders, right? He had an understanding and a comprehension of Torah, right? But that was only to his advantage in the Ruach HaKodesh, as the Ruach brought those things to his remembrance that it wanted to say. All right, let's go on. He says, verse 2. For I determined not to know anything among you save Yahushua HaMashiach and him crucified. I came to you. Look, I ain't talking about nothing but Yahushua HaMashiach and him crucified, right? You know, I'm not here to break down the ideas and the religious philosophies of the day. I'm here to talk to you about Yahushua HaMashiach and him crucified, right? Paul said, and I was with you in weakness, right? Paul had weaknesses, right? And the Greek word for this is
Strong's G 769, asthenia.
asthenia, which is it's a want of strength, weakness, or infirmity of the body, right? It's a native frailty, right? There was something frail, like, about Paul. I mean, something frail. There was something that was distinctive about Paul, right? He says, and in fear, this fear is reverence. You know, he had weakness, and he reverenced, right, Yahuah and those who he were around, right? And with much trembling, right? Much trembling, right? Quaking. A description of anxiety of one who is distrusting his abilities. In the Greek, that word is
Strong's G 5156, traumas,
right? Fear and trembling, used to describe anxiety of one who distrusts his abilities completely to meet all requirements. So he distrusts his ability to meet all requirements, but religiously does his utmost to fulfill his duty. Now that's the Greek of that word, right? So So Paul, in and of himself, recognized that he had limitations. And these limitations probably affected how he perceived himself, right? Now listen, right? Yahuah chooses the weak things, right? The what's the word I'm looking for? He chooses the things that are not significant and makes them significant, right? Yahuah chose Paul, right? And, sometimes the assumption is he chose Paul because, he had studied the Old Testament. He was fluent in several languages. And, he had all the knowledge and everything he needed to be the representative to the Gentiles, right? But in fact, Paul understood that he needed to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh because he had limitations, right? He had enough sense to realize he had shortcomings, right? There was a frailness about him, right? A lack of confidence. Now, in himself. He said, my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom. He says, I didn't come to you knowing how to put the right words together to give you a certain understanding and a way of thinking about me and about what I'm saying. He says, I didn't use catchphrases. I didn't use things that would cause you to think that I knew more than I actually did, and that happens a lot on Facebook, in the awakening. You have people that put up a lot of catchphrases, little catchy things, right? And they're put there to kind of make sure that you understand a certain thing, right? And if you spend time on Facebook and you look at certain people's posts, you'll get the impression that, oh man, this brother and this sister or this person, oh, they really, right? Paul said, I didn't come to you with a bunch of words that would entice you. That were men's wisdom. I didn't use any catchy terms or anything that would draw you in to make you appreciate what I was able to say because of my credentials, right? He says, but in the demonstration of the Ruach HaKodesh of Dunamos. Paul said, listen, I didn't come with all of that. I just came with the message of Yahushua, Mashiach crucified, and I had the Ruach HaKodesh in power. Yahuah. He said, listen, Paul was saying, listen, I didn't rely on what I was capable of doing naturally, right? I relied on the Ruach HaKodesh's power to deliver the word, right? He says that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of Elohiym. I didn't come to you with a bunch of words that may have had a substance, right? But I came to you in power with the witness of Yahushua HaMashiach and him crucified. And I demonstrated that Ruach power in you. Right? And that Ruach power came forth in the basora of truth that I delivered to you. Now, my prayer is that the Ruach power, the Ruach HaKodesh in me as I teach you, will cause you to receive and understand the authority and the power that is attached to this message, this word, this basora that I'm giving you by Yahushua HaMashiach. I'm relying on the Ruach HaKodesh to teach you through me. He said, Paul says, and my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words. Enticing words, you know? T.D. Jakes. Man, I tell you, listen, he get to talking, right? He used to get to talking sometimes. And, you know, people be like, yeah. I'm saying, nah, no, y'all don't know what that man just said. Yes, because it's T.D. Jakes, but they don't know what he said. They ain't ruachally discerning the basora of truth. Paul said, that's not how I do things. He said, I come in demonstration. I demonstrate the power of Yahuah in you. How is he? That word demonstrate is in Hebrew.
Strong's G 585. Apodexis.
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 Apodexis. It says, making manifest, showing forth a demonstration of proof. So Paul says, I am demonstrating Yahuwah's power. How many of us in awakening are demonstrating the power of Yahushua by the basora that we give? Yahuah. He says in verse 5 that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but the Ruach HaKodesh of Elohiym. The power of Elohiym. The dunamos. That word power in the Hebrew. I mean in the Greek.
Strong's G 1411. Dunamis.
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 Strength, power, ability, right? Inherent power. Power residing in a thing by virtue of its nature. By virtue of its nature. Paul says, I have the Ruach HaKodesh. I have the nature of Elohiym. I have the nature of Elohiym in Yahushua in me. I have the Ruach HaKodesh. What I do is followed by power. He says in verse 6, howbeit we speak wisdom amongst them that are perfect, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor of the princes of this world that come to naught. He said, listen, we speak wisdom. Why? How? Because the Ruach of Yahuah, the gift of Yahuah, is on the inside of us. The Ruach of Yahuah, the Ruach of wisdom, the Ruach of understanding, the Ruach of knowledge, the Ruach of counsel, the Ruach of might, the Ruach of knowledge and the fear of Yahuah. These Ruachs, this Ruach, what have I repeated twice, are in us. Paul said, this we speak Ruach wisdom, supernatural power at the Ruach HaKodesh, right? It's not man's wisdom. Man's wisdom has told you there's a rapture. Doctrine that was established by the Puritans. Ruach wisdom is natural, sensual. They rely on their own ability to understand and interpret instead of the wisdom and the Ruach of Yahuah, right? He said, but we speak wisdom of Elohiym. When I speak the wisdom of Elohiym. Yeah. In a mystery. See, the natural man can't conceive. How can Yahushua HaMashiach say that he's going to send a comforter, and the Father's going to send the comforter, and him and the Father are going to take up residence in you, but the Father's going to send the comforter, but he's not going to send it until I come up there? Don't make no sense. But it's Ruach. You have to understand, it's Ruach. It's Yahuah. It's the word of Yahuah, right? It's the word of Yahuah. It's a Ruach. It's what he said. You have to have the Ruach HaKodesh. Because without the Ruach HaKodesh, you just like everybody else trying to figure out what Yahuah is really saying. And what you will do is become disenchanted. You become disenchanted. I'm convinced that most people walk away from assemblies because they have not been properly taught in the Ruach HaKodesh. They get discouraged, man. They get discouraged because they haven't received the Ruach. And because they don't have to receive the Ruach, they see other people who have the Ruach moving in the Ruach, and they, some of them get jealous. Because they haven't received the Ruach HaKodesh since they believed. Some of these people are just in awakening because they've learned the Hebrews. Some of them have attached themselves to great assemblies because they're Hebrews, and they don't know that being a Hebrew alone is not what is going to keep you. It's not going to bring you before Yahuah. It's not going to seal you. You have to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh. Paul said he relied on the Ruach HaKodesh. He relied on the Ruach HaKodesh. He said, listen, right? He said, listen. But we speak the wisdom of Elohiym in a mystery, even hidden wisdom. There are things that are spoken by the Ruach HaKodesh in me that I know that is hidden wisdom. I know it's hid from those who have not received the Ruach HaKodesh. It's hid. It's almost as if they have blinders over their eyes, and when they hear it, they're like, oh, I don't understand it. It's a mystery. It's hidden wisdom, which Yahuah ordained before the worlds unto our glory. Yahuah has ordained this glory. He has ordained this by the Ruach HaKodesh through his son Yahushua HaMashiach. He has ordained this, right? He said, which none of the princes of this world knew. None of the princes of this world knew. None of them. None of the princes, none of the kings of this world knew. Had they had known, they would have never crucified him. They didn't know it. Herod didn't know it. And Pilate didn't know it. Had they known it, they would not have crucified. Verse 9. But as it is written, eyes have not seen, nor ears heard, neither has it entered into the hearts of men, the things with Yahuah has prepared for. Now listen, right? Prepare for them that love him, right? You know, they used to quote this scripture all the time. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has entered into the heart of man, those good things that Yahuah has laid up for them. Well, we just don't know what Yahuah has. He wasn't talking about his people. He wasn't talking about those who had received Yahushua HaMashiach's testimony. He wasn't talking about those who have been purchased, redeemed, who have redemption, who received the Ruach HaKodesh. He was talking about the people who don't. Their eyes have not seen, right? Because they're ruachally discerned. Their eyes have not seen because they're ruachally. That's a word. Ruachally. Because they have not received the Ruach HaKodesh, therefore they cannot discern them. Their eyes cannot see. Eyes have not seen, nor ears heard. Their eyes have not seen. Their ears have not heard. If they would have heard or seen, they wouldn't have crucified a Mashiach. They crucified a Mashiach because they could not see. They could not see because they never received him. Because they never received him, they were never chosen of him. It's written. Eyes have not seen. Of course. Ears have not heard, of course. Neither has it entered into the hearts of men. Yes. The things which Yahuah has prepared for them that love him. Yes. Right? But here's the kicker. But Yahuah has revealed them to us by his Ruach HaKodesh. We have to trust in the Ruach's guidance. We have to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh. We have to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh. We have to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh. We have to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh, for as many as are led by the Ruach HaKodesh, these are the sons and the daughters of Yahuah. So if you have the Ruach HaKodesh, your eyes have seen. Your ears have heard. And it has entered into the heart of men. Right? Because he put his Ruach, his spirit, his heart, his Torah in you. You are a living epistle. Written and read of men. because we are to walk in him. We are to be in him. Right? But he says in verse 10, but Yahuah hath revealed unto us by his Ruach HaKodesh. For the Ruach HaKodesh searches all things, yea, the deep things. Yahuah, I give you praise for your Ruach HaKodesh. I give you praise for it searches the deep, the depth, the depth things of Yahuah. It searches out the deep depths things in my heart, in my vessel, as a tabernacle that is yours. Your Ruach HaKodesh, Yahuah. I thank you for your Ruach HaKodesh. Listen. But Yahuah hath revealed unto us by his Ruach HaKodesh. For the Ruach HaKodesh searches all things. The Ruach HaKodesh searches all things. Now listen, right? It says spirit, right? But you know throughout the scriptures and out the text, it's the Ruach HaKodesh is referred to as the Comforter. The Ruach HaKodesh is referred to the Holy Spirit. The Ruach HaKodesh is referred to as the Holy Ghost. The Ruach HaKodesh is referred to as the Spirit of Yahuah, right? The Ruach HaKodesh is also the Spirit of Truth, right? So don't get it twisted. We're talking about the Ruach HaKodesh. The same spirit that Yahuah gives, that he's given to us freely. And in the original covenant, he chose to select certain people. Now, the choosing part still exists. This is a mystery, man. This is a mystery. For he had predestined us, right? He predestined us to be sons and daughters of Yahuah, right? But the Ruach HaKodesh was placed upon people. The Ruach of wisdom and understanding to do a thing. The Ruach of counsel. The Ruach of might was placed on people to do a thing, to operate in an office. The Ruach of understanding. All of these Ruachs was used at different times on different people that Yahuah used to advance to his kingdom. The thing is in the renewed covenant, that which bridged the original and the new is the Basora of truth being made flesh, right? And with this new Basora being made flesh, which is really not a new Basora, it's the original Basora, but it just took the form of flesh. It's the same Basora, Yahushua HaMashiach, the word that Yahuah gave to him, he's given to us. It's the same Torah. The commandments that he has us and asks us to keep is the same commandments that he kept from his father. And in obeying these commandments, we demonstrate our love for him. It's that same Ruach HaKodesh that Yahushua had, that he said, when I leave, the Comforter will come. And he will bring all things to your remembrance. The Comforter you will be able to rely on. This Ruach, this spirit, this holy Ruach, this set apart Ruach is me and my Father in you. The Basora. It's mystery. Oh, it's a mystery. excuse me, it's a mystery. Verse 6, howbeit we speak the wisdom amongst them that are perfect. We speak wisdom amongst them that are mature. Yet not the wisdom of this world, nor the princes of this world that come to naught. But we speak the wisdom of Yahuah. We speak by the Ruach HaKodesh in mysteries. Ooh, man, we speak the Ruach HaKodesh. We speak by the Ruach HaKodesh mysteries. Even hidden wisdom, stuff that the apostles and the prophets of old, original covenant, that hidden wisdom, which Yahuah ordained before the worlds, before the world, unto our glory, right? Which none of the princes of this world knew. For had they knew, they would not have crucified Hamashiach, right? We know this, right? He says, but it is written, eyes have not seen, ears have not. We understand that, right? But Yahuah revealed them unto us by his Ruach HaKodesh. We have to trust the Ruach HaKodesh, right? For what man knoweth the things of a man save the Ruach of a man, which is in him, right? Even so, the things of Yahuah is known of a man, but the Ruach of Yahuah. So, let's look at this again. For what man knoweth the things of a man? What man can look at another man and know what's going on in that man, right? Save the spirit of that man. Only that man knows on the inside of him what's going on in him, not the man that's on the outside, which is in him, right? Even so, the things of Yahuah knoweth no man but the Ruach HaKodesh. Listen, apart from the Ruach HaKodesh, we don't know anything that Yahuah has. We don't know any mysteries. We don't understand or discern anything in the text, really. You have to have the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Because the Ruach HaKodesh is who's going to guide you and to lead you. How are you going to know how to live? How are you going to know what to speak? How are you going to know what to say? How are you going to know what to pray? How are you going to know who to pray for? How do you know these things? Except the Ruach HaKodesh. He says, now we have received not the spirit of this world, but the Ruach HaKodesh, which is of Yahuah, right? That we might know the things that are freely given unto us by the Ruach HaKodesh. See, there are things that are freely given because they're freely given to us because we have accepted the Ruach HaKodesh. So whatever knowledge, whatever revelation, whatever information, whatever is revealed that he gives us, it's because of the Ruach HaKodesh in us. This is something that we receive freely because we received of him freely. Because we received the Ruach HaKodesh, which was a free gift, right? And we walk in the Basora of truth, right? And we keep Yahusha's words, right? Yahuah and Yahusha living in us by the Ruach HaKodesh, right? Freely gives us. Verse 13. Which things also we speak not in the words which man's wisdom teaches. Paul said, listen, this word that I teach you is not man's wisdom. This that I teach you is not the training I received under the Pharisees and Gamaliel. This is not what I received in my studies at the Christian college when I was pursuing a degree in religion and philosophy, looking to move into seminary, right? It was not the New Testament study, the Old Testament study, the Gospel of John study, the Epistle studies. It was none of that, right? Because that all is foolishness, even though it's an attempt to explain what's happening. You must understand that it has to be the Ruach of Elohiym. Because if it's not, it all becomes foolishness. The wisdom of men, science and philosophy, the wisdom of men. The Greeks seek wisdom. The Jews look for a sign. Right? But no sign is going to be given. And the wisdom of Yahushua is foolishness. Right? He said, which things also we speak not in the words which man's wisdom teaches, but which the Ruach HaKodesh teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual things, comparing Ruachal things with Ruachal things. Paul says, the natural man receiveth nothing. The natural man receiveth not the things of the Ruach HaKodesh. The natural man receives nothing from the Ruach HaKodesh. For they are foolishness unto him. They foolishness. He ain't going to waste his time because they're foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them because they are Ruachally discerned. If it's not important for you, now I don't know when it is going to ever be important. The Apostle Paul says here in Corinthians 2nd chapter, in order to know and understand or discern anything, you have to have the Ruach HaKodesh. He said he couldn't do any of this without the Ruach HaKodesh. He had to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh. You can't be an imitator of Elohiym without the Ruach HaKodesh. You can't be an imitator of Elohiym without the Ruach HaKodesh. You have to have the Ruach HaKodesh to rely on to even be able to share and give the Bazaar of truth to anybody. Now ye have not received the Ruach of this world, but you have received the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Ruach of Elohiym, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, that we might know the things that are freely given to us in Elohiym. Which things also we speak not in the words which man's wisdom teaches, but in the Ruach HaKodesh, teaching and comparing spiritual things and spiritual things, Ruachal things with Ruachal things. Listen, he says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Ruach HaKodesh, for they are foolishness unto him. That's why Yahushua said, they ain't going to even receive Yahushua Mashiach because it's foolishness unto them. Neither can they know them because they're spiritually. They can't even know them because you have to have the Ruach HaKodesh to discern them. Understand the Ruach HaKodesh is important because you need it just to be able to discern the Besorah of truth. But he that is spiritual, he that is Ruach, who has a Ruach HaKodesh, he that is Ruach, judges all things, yet he himself judges of no man, right? Because the Ruach HaKodesh, he has the capacity to judge all things, but no man can just judge him because he has the Ruach HaKodesh, right? For he knoweth, for who knoweth the mind of Elohiym? Who knows the mind of, what's the mind of Elohiym? What does Elohiym think? The Torah. The Torah of truth. What does Yahushua think? The Torah of truth. What does Yahushua say? Yahushua says what he thinks. What does Yahushua say? He says what the fathers say, right? He says what the Besorah says, right? Who hath known the mind of Adonai, that they may instruct him? Right? He's talking about the people that are in the world. Who can know the mind of Adonai? And then Paul says, we have the mind of Yahushua Mashiach. We have the Ruach HaKodesh. We have the Besorah of truth. We have the revealer of wisdom. Man of Yah, woman of Yah. Being an imitator of Yahuah. Right? And then relying upon the Ruach HaKodesh in and for all things. Because that's what this is. That's how we live by emunah. By trusting in the Ruach HaKodesh. Trusting in the Besorah of truth. And seeking for the direction of the Ruach HaKodesh. Working together on one accord for the unity of the faith, reaching the brethren in agreement in the plan of Yahuah and Yahushua HaMashiach. Man of Yah, woman of Yah, you gotta walk it out. My Lorvin says you gotta walk it out. You got to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh. Got to walk it out. You have to rely on the Ruach HaKodesh. You got to walk it out. You got to be imitators of a Mashiach. You have to walk it out. Man of Yah called to greatness. Woman of Yah called to greatness. Beautifully and wonderfully made. Today, Yahuwah's favored you. That's all I got. In the words of Lorvin, Ma'aki, walk it out. And listen, with that I say, shalom, shalom, shalom. Torah Garden, speaking the absolute truth. Torah Nation.